Have you ever wondered how filmmakers turn a simple idea into a stunning video with powerful cinematic shots? Or maybe you faced a moment where you had a script or a project to shoot but just couldn't figure out the style or direction to take it. In this video, I'm going to share my process for visualizing stories in a way that makes them look cinematic and polished. I'll walk you through how I prepare for shoots, choose the right locations, and work through the details that make a project stand out. For me personally, I break down pre-production into 5 key stages that help me stay on track and get great results every time. The first stage is planning. When students from ANDBERY Academy show me their projects or homeworks, I often notice the same issue. Either they plan too little time for shooting, or they have plenty of time but film way too many shots. On a 12-hour shoot day, I usually plan for around 20 shots in one location. That's about 2.5 minutes of final footage. If I'm working with 2 locations, I cut that down to around 15 shots because of travel time and some extra prep or production design work. Anyway, you can shoot more if the actors hit their marks in 2-3 takes and everything runs smoothly. But in reality, a lot of things can affect your timing, from technical issues to team coordination, etc. So I don't recommend shooting everything you see, just dumping footage into the camera. Anyway, if you want a high quality result, plan every shot carefully. Take the time to light it properly or find a unique angle. You can always tell when a shot was rushed. And I have to say that this approach limits both you and your client, and it's super important to explain this up front. The more shots you try to squeeze in, the lower their quality will be. The second stage of pre-production for me is all about gathering as many ideas as possible for how to bring the project to life. This is where moodboards and references come in. I always collect them. I hunt for references that show how things might look visually, taking what's just words on a page and starting to build a visual world around it. This process really helps me organize the chaos of creative ideas all in one place. Also, when I'm looking through great projects from other creators, I often catch myself thinking, wow, I want to try something like that in my next shoot. I also love doing pre-visualization with music. Even before the project starts, I think about the mood and the genre, and I search for the right tracks on Audiio. I'll drop those tracks onto a timeline along with reference clips and images that I've gathered for the project, and these rough videos are usually just for me. And sometimes for the director or client, just to set the vibe. By the way, I've partnered with Audiio to hook you up with a pretty big discount. I use their music all the time in my film projects. Plus, they offer flexible subscriptions and lifetime licenses for any track you download during your subscription. If you use my link and discount code ANDBERY, you can get your first year of Audiio Pro for just $59. That's 70% off full access to all their music, sound effects, and AI features. And make sure to use my code. You won't find that price anywhere else on their site. The next big step in pre-production is, of course, finding the right location. And let me take a minute here, because location is such a crucial part of your frame. It's not just about picking a place that fits the story. The space also needs to look great on camera. Here are a couple of the most common mistakes beginners make when choosing a location. And the first one is not enough space for shooting. The best shooting conditions happen when you have enough room to get a wide shot without needing to use a super wide angle lens. If you can frame a wide shot at 35mm in your space, that's great. It also gives you more freedom to place your lights without them bouncing off the wrong surfaces. For example, if you light your subject, but the light spills all over the background wall, making it too bright, the shot looks flat. Lighting isn't just about making the person look good, it's about the whole scene. It's about the background as well. I always recommend leaving a few feet or meters of space between your subject and the background to help add depth to the shot, especially for interviews. In a larger space, you can divide the room into zones of brightness. Closer to a window or light source, brighter zones, and farther away, darker zones. This helps you create contrast and depth naturally without needing extra gear. In a small room, that light fall-off is minimal. The whole space ends up looking evenly lit, and you lose that nice transition between light and shadow. The next advice is use real light sources in the frame. Ideally, your location should have actual light sources, like windows, lamps, torches, or even fire. I'm a big fan of building cinematic shots based on realistic lighting. And that realism comes from enhancing natural light sources with your own lights. If your scene calls for natural light, don't build it from scratch. Just find a location with windows. Trying to recreate that from zero is a pain in the ass, especially for a low-budget production. And you still have to show that light source in the frame so the audience knows where the light's coming from. It's way easier to just have a window and build your lighting setup around it. And yeah, make sure those windows are clean. If you shine a light through dirty glass, you'll just end up with a blown-out patch in your shot. Marking your shooting angles. This is the next prep step. When you show up on set, every minute costs money. So let's say you've planned to shoot 20 shots in a day. If you spend just 3 extra minutes per shot figuring out where to place the camera, and by the end of the day, you've lost a whole hour of shooting time. And during that hour, your lighting team is just standing by, waiting to know which direction to set up lights and what kind of lighting scheme to build. That's why when you found a location that you're likely to shoot at, I highly recommend taking as many photos and videos as possible from different angles and positions. Then before the shoot, go through those photos and choose the exact angles you want for each shot. The idea is to decide your camera positions before the shoot day, so when you arrive on set, you already know where you're going to shoot from. And once you've selected your frames, don't be lazy. Sketch out the blocking right on those images, mark where the character will stand, roughly place all the actors for wide, medium, and close-up shots. And this saves a ton of time. You can show these diagrams to the actors so they understand how they look in the frame and how they should move. And your gaffer already knows which direction to start setting up the lights. On top of that, I tried to plan my lighting setups ahead of time, so I can discuss them with the gaffer before the shoot and show them exactly what I'm thinking. So I can say that this quite simple pre-production concept of marking your angles and blocking can easily save at least an hour on set. And more importantly, it shows the production team, the producers, and the director that you're prepared and that you've got a solid plan for a fast and efficient shoot. Visual storytelling. You can shoot a scene in a plain and boring way, or you can add details that grab the viewer's attention and make them ask, why is that object there? What does it mean in the story? Ideally, those objects aren't random. They're a part of visual storytelling. During pre-production, I try to come up with and include meaningful details, things like props or subtle elements that support the scene's emotion, setting, or characters. Sometimes they're just there for visual style, but often they add depth. In one of my projects, I rented an old Nissan to give the frame a touch of Asian retro style. This scene was set in an old library full of vintage elements. The location itself added that timeless romantic atmosphere, like you're stepping into a novel. Here in this project, one of the characters, a journalist, was recording her thoughts on a vintage Olympus recorder. As you can see, she's surrounded by typewriters and paper, and it tells the viewer that she's part of this world. These little things speak volumes about your characters without a single line of dialogue. Because if you skip this part in pre-production, your characters will have to explain who they are out loud, and that's the weakest form of storytelling. So, ideally the image should speak for itself, through the environment, the props, and how everything fits together, matching the character's personality with their space and surroundings. That's visual storytelling. By the way, I'm currently offering early access to my new online masterclass where I teach advanced lighting techniques and production design based on real commercial and film work. This online masterclass is for filmmakers, videographers, and cinematographers who want to shoot truly cinematic and professional-looking projects using the tools and mindset of a real cinematographer. So let's wrap it all up. Pre-production shapes the core of your project. Gathering ideas, planning how much you can realistically shoot, and locking in locations, lighting, and composition. As a cinematographer, you bridge creative ideas and technical execution using visual language and thoughtful details like props, space, and natural light to let the story speak for itself.